Hello, 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 everyone. Sorry, we are having some technical difficulties. No one could hear me. I had to end the previous stream and start a new stream. If you're out there, please let me know that you can hear me. Okay, so we're going to add Brandon to the stream. Brandon, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm like, what is so? I said, let me start the stream. Well, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am awesome. I am so happy that you decided to come on today for this topic. Now, you told me when we were talking via email that you had just traveled to Kenya, yes?
Yeah. Yes.
So how long are you planning to be there? Just a side note before we get started.
For this trip, I'll be here until about the end of the month.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Great. 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 So the topic to today is the passport craze that is actually happening in the U.S. right now. I had sent you a link about what TMZ had reported on in regards to the long lines of people applying for passports outside of the passport agency, which happened right after the presidential debate. What are your thoughts about that? Why do you think this is actually happening?
I just think that, you know, one, remember there were a lot of people trying to get passports before Corona. I was one of them. I was trying to get my passport uh I was trying to get my daughter's passport. So
Okay.
there's always people applying for passports. But during Corona, the process was slowed down and almost halted. So I just believe like it's the same reason you're seeing a lot of long lines at the DMV. It's just now you're seeing things you normally wouldn't see because those services have been stopped for so long. Now, the presidential debate, I believe that has some bearing on it. Me, myself, I'm a conservative person. I believe a lot of people feel like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to try to lock down the country if they are elected because, they're on the side of pharmaceutical companies. There's no question that, Joe Biden is a friend of, China, the World Health Organization, and he's spoken about locking down the country again. They're using the COVID-19, and whereas we feel like it might be kind of dying down, things are getting back to normal. Well, if there's a political agenda there, guess what? They're going to use it. And even if you watch the debate the other night with Kamala Harris and Mike Pence, she just stayed on that point of COVID-19, the response, this and that. To me, it just says they're holding on to that because they're trying to use it for some type of political gain. And so I think a lot of people feel like something in the United States is going to happen concerning COVID-19 and maybe there being another lockdown or something. So I do believe a lot of people are applying for passports so that if they do start announcing stuff like that, maybe they can, get out of here. But there's a lot of variables.
It's interesting that you say, I didn't watch the vice presidential debate. I wasn't going to watch the presidential debate, but someone said, you got to watch this. This is going to be hilarious. I watched it, and it turned out to be just that, hilarious. Okay, the two of them were hilarious to me. Now, I have no political affiliations, okay, because I believe that the devil is the devil is the devil. I'm not going to be choosing that one. So when you mentioned that you were trying to get your daughter's passport, if you recall, Brandon, in July, they had a 1.5 million passport application backlog. These were new passports. Were you in that group as well, or that you had already applied? You were in the backlog, or what?
So I applied for her passport in June, and she received. I applied for her passport in April, and she received it in July.
So they actually, so maybe because I think that came out like July the 15th, and they said it was 1.5 million backlog. And then I know someone in Houston that works with the processing, and she was saying that it was even more than that. But how they process them, it's not necessarily regional. Just because you go into Houston to submit, they could process you, let's say in South Dakota. She did mention that. It's based on how you get in the computer queue once you submit your application, which I thought
Right.
was interesting. But another thing, Brandon, that I thought was interesting as well, I'm seeing, I don't know if you saw this in searches on YouTube, there are a lot of blacks in the U.S. who are going to the Dominican during this time. And in that article, they also mentioned about people going to the Dominican. Why? So black people are forgetting what happened. What was it, last year or the year before that, when all the blacks were dying in the Dominican? Plus, look how they treat Haitians. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, any black person who is fool enough to run somewhere where they know that there's a racist atmosphere. See, black people, we get caught up on the resort experience, right? So they think if they go to the resort, they have a good time. They think that that's the tone of the nation, and it's not. I mean, even David Ortiz, he's from the Dominican Republic, but he's black, he's dark skinned, and he got shot inside of a club there, right? So
Yes.
they're very racist, right, in the DR. So what I think is the same type of people who run to the Dominican Republic are the same type of people in the United States talking about, if you go to Africa, you a coward, you need to stay here, our bones is buried here. Those are just people going on vacation. And you got to realize the flights are cheap. The resorts are dirt cheap because of Corona. So you're always going to have an influx. It's the same reason why you see a lot of black folks going to Cancun and stuff like that. A lot of people are flying. I have friends right now, they're in Florida. They ain't never been to Florida, never talked about going. But because the flights are cheap and the resorts are cheap right now and the alcohol's flowing, they're going to take advantage of it. I really don't think that when you see any type of mass movement on behalf of African Americans, it's nothing politically related. It's usually like there was a discount price dropped or something like that. Because in our mass, in a macro setting, we are not political minded at all. I mean, most of us aren't even paying attention to what's going on with travel or anything, because why? We don't travel. Most of them ain't never really been out of the state we were born in. And it's just like, once you acknowledge that, you just say there's an explanation for this, and it's probably not as deep as we think.
Well, I'm saying that we're not traveling to let's say African nations, like what you were talking about, and because they're not as the cost is not as low as it is, as you said, to go to the Caribbean. However, all of the chatter that's going on, and I don't know if you've seen this as well, all of these flights that are being canceled, people are being told that their flights are being canceled, and then they get to the airport and the flights are not being canceled. How smooth of the transition was it for you coming from California? Because I think you're in Long Beach, am I correct? And then flying into Nairobi. So how did that transpire for you?
Man, let me tell you, there was a hassle when, okay, so the first day I get to the airport, right, they're telling me that, but it wasn't on behalf of the United States. They told me that you needed this health surveillance form already filled out before you can get on the plane, before they would even give you your boarding pass.
Okay.
Well, in Kenya, when I looked on their website, they just said all you needed was the COVID-19 test. But then when the lady showed me, no, the Ministry of Health has said you need this health surveillance agreement before you enter into Kenya. So me in my mind, I'm like, well, I've been to Kenya before, so it's probably a form that you're gonna fill out when you get to the airport. Once you land in Kenya, you'll fill out that form, and that's like your visa or anything else. But on their website, it clearly said that you needed this before you were even allowed to fly, right? So that was a mistake on Kenya's behalf. The lady at the airport was actually very accommodating. She said, well, Mr. Tucker, we could print this form out for you right now, and you can just fill it out real quick, and we'll rush you through the line and get you on the board. So LAX was doing their due diligence.
Okay.
Click the link. Only problem was the website was broken. The Kenya website was not working. So we couldn't even get the form. Right. So what happened was, what I ended up doing was I ended up having to make my own form based on, I went to the CDC web. So basically I told them, give me 24 hours, reschedule my flight for the next day, right? So they did that, no problem. They were very accommodating. And so I went home, I made my own form. I went to the CDC, and what you'll recognize is the CDC distributes all these forms to all the countries, right? So it's a template. So I just saw it, edited, health surveillance form, Kenya, filled it out, got back to the airport, right? When I went back to the airport, they didn't even ask me for any of that paperwork. And then so I said, well, don't you guys want this paper? And the lady said, no. What we did was we put a note on your account of what you said about the Ministry of Health link being broken or whatever. So our higher ups in 24 hours, they were able to look at it, and they basically said, no, let them go through. They put a note on the itinerary saying, no, let them go through because we have no ability to communicate with Kenya concerning this issue. So it was a hassle, but what I will say is the airlines did do their part to help me get through. They did, because when I went the next day, I didn't have to show the paper that I created for myself. So pretty much what you need is a COVID-19 form, right, proving that you had the test, and you got to do it within 96 hours of flying. Okay, so within 96 hours of getting on that plane, you got to have a COVID-19 test. Very easy to do. I did mine drive-through at Rite Aid. But I'm going to tell you, with all traveling, you have to have an ability to articulate and explain the points you are trying to get across effectively. We're no longer living in a time where you just stand there looking crazy and people figure it out for you. We are entering into an age of unparalleled competition and unparalleled complexity. Okay. And what I know about my people is sometimes we just like to sit there and wait for other people to do things for us without us really having to have the ability to speak on our own behalf, right? This is from my personal experience. If you're going to travel, know where you're going, know what you're doing, know what's required, so that when any type of adversity comes up, you are able to explain with confidence the situation pertaining to, your trip, where you want to go, what's going on in that place. And then that makes it easier for people to work with you. Those people basically just took my word for it. I said, look, I contacted the Ministry of Health. I emailed them. I did this. I did, which I didn't do any of that, but I said I did. And they were like, look, the guy's convincing. And they said, if he says it must be true, boom, and they let me go straight through. So you're not going to have a bunch of difficulty per se. You just have to be able to explain, and use tact, Don't sit up there and expose your hand at the counter, listen to what they have to say, do less talking and more listening. And then you can say, okay, hold on a second. Then go back and figure out what you need to do to get where you're trying to go. You just have to have the will and motivation to do it. If you're like me, you're not going to Africa on vacation. Don't take that mindset ever. Yes. Make it like an objective. I got a job that I need to get done. And trust me, when you start thinking of things like that, you have an objective, everything will fall into place for you, because they will see how serious you are about getting there. And they're going to say, just let this guy through, because, he's trying to be there.
So how many different points or how many stops did you have prior to making it into Nairobi? And was your flight that went to Nairobi full? Tell us about that.
Okay, so on my original itinerary, it was just going to go from LAX to Frankfurt, Germany, and then into Nairobi through American Airlines, but they were going to partner with Lufthansa to get me into Nairobi. Right. But then because she had to switch my itinerary around, I actually ended up having 3 flights. I had to go from LAX to New Jersey, then from New Jersey to London, then from London into Nairobi. But that's just because she switched my ticket. But once you get outside the United States, you're not going to have any problems with like a lot of the you got to have this form and all that. Because once you get on those airlines outside of the United States, they're not using as much precaution. That's why I tell everybody this idea that, the president didn't do what he was supposed to do to protect you. That's bullcrap. The United States has the most stringent corona, what do you call them? Parameters or
protocols?
Protocols, right. Of anyone. The funny thing is when corona broke out, I was trying to come from Kenya to America. And Donald Trump had already banned all the flights from China, Germany, everything. He did that before there was even one case of corona. But what happened? They told him, you're a racist, you're this. They said, okay, he let it open. So United States, I don't believe that they're trying to keep people from leaving. I think that they're trying to keep people safe here. You know what I mean? And keep people from taking corona everywhere else. But once you get outside the United States, it's going to be smooth sailing because simply put, these other countries, they really don't even have the infrastructure. Even London doesn't really have the infrastructure to impact people coming in and out. So what ended up happening was, China, they got banned to come in the United States. So what they did is they started just flying people to other countries and flying them into the United States from those other countries.
From those
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because those countries don't have the same type of tight security policies like the United States. But so basically, it just took me to go from Newark to London, then into Nairobi. When I got on a flight, it was not packed. Had a lot of the middle rows on a flight, they were empty because they didn't want to sit anybody next to each other. So pretty much once the flight got in the air, you go lay in the middle row. You got the whole row to yourself. You're relaxing.
Now, how many people of melanin descent was on the flight with you, or were you the only one?
How many African people was on there?
Yes.
Okay. On this one, this particular time, there was a good number. Over, I would say 70% of the people were Africans. And then, you have a few Indians, and then you have the whites. But at any time you go into East Africa, you're going to get whites, right? There's going to be more whites on the flight into East Africa than into West Africa, because East Africa, it's a great place. It's very safe. It's very nice. A lot of whites have summer homes there, things like that. You're not going to see them once you enter into the country. You won't see them, but on the plane, you will. And a lot of them also take connecting flights through Nairobi to other places. So Nairobi is like a hub.
It's interesting. So I traveled recently because I'm in Dubai, as you know. So I traveled from Dubai to Houston, Houston to Dubai. On my way from Houston to come back to Dubai, the U.S. protocols in Houston were very, very lax. However, once I got to Amsterdam, of course, it was tighter. And that is actually when they actually checked to see if I had my PCR test. They didn't check, though, in Houston. So I basically was flown. They did not check.
They didn't ask you?
No.
Wow. Man, in LAX?
But that was in July. That was in July.
July, yeah.
So I'm not sure what it would be like, let's say, per se now. Because what you're saying is totally different than what I experienced and what
they're going to
are experiencing now.
They're going to ask you 100%, because when you go to the little place where you can do your self printout, you can print out your boarding pass on your own, that's going to lock. And the person's going to come over and say, do you have your PCR test? And you have to show that for them to unlock it. And they're going to look for the date and everything. But listen, let me tell you, none of it really matters, because you can just make those results tests online on the internet. You literally can copy.
See, people were asking about this in another.
You can do it. Listen, there's nothing you can do to stop corona, okay? Donald Trump caught corona in 3 days. He was well, okay? There's nothing you can do. So people what prevented me from scanning my corona paper and then just saying, hey, let me change the date, and then printing it out and showing it? Because I was gonna do that, because I was like, man, am I gonna be outside of the 96-hour window going the next day? But you know what? I'll tell you, I didn't have to do it, but I could have done it. And how would they have been any the wiser?
They would have been none the wiser, is what you're saying.
None the wiser, exactly.
Especially because you're saying that you just told them stuff of how you had contacted people in Kenya, and fast forward, you didn't even contact these folks, and they basically, because of your demeanor and your articulation, they took your word on it. So that's interesting too, Brandon.
There's no way for them to double check it, not with paper. And this is the thing, they want a printout. So if they were like, yo, let's do it over with the phone, then at least on the phone, it would be harder for you to fake it because you would actually have to go into a website, you know, and go into your results. You can't mess around on a website that's secure. You can't change anything. But they're like, no, do you have a printout? Once you print it on paper, it's easily able to be messed around with. And I'm not advocating for anyone to do that or anything, but I'm just letting you know there's no such thing as security. So don't let that stop you, because don't let, oh, I don't want to catch COVID be a reason for you not to do something, because trust me, you can't affect if you're going to catch it or not. And they're doing everything but telling you that because they want you to believe that one group or the other is able to keep you safe, and none of them are.
And none of them are. Now, what I find peculiar, though, only because you flew into Kenya, a lot of the cancellations, these are fake cancellations, and people are getting these emails. It is the people, Brandon, who are flying into Tanzania. Now, sure, there have been some cancellations in people going to the Gambia and people going to Ghana as well, but it seems like the bulk of these fake cancellations are happening with people who are going into Tanzania. Are you familiar
Well,
with that?
what you have to understand, there's a perfectly logical explanation for that. If the flights get booked, because all the flights have to be like half capacity, right? So if a bunch of people buy tickets, oh, we're going into wherever, what they're going to do is they're going to say, look, we overbooked this flight based on the new rules set because of COVID-19. So all the people who paid the cheaper prices, they're going to get kicked. They're going to get us the thing, your flight was canceled. The people who paid the higher prices, they're going to keep them because they want to keep the larger sum of money. So if you can only fill a plane, 50%, you're not going to say, well, let me only fill it 50 seats. You're going to get as many people to buy as you can, and then you're going to make a decision between the people who paid a lot and the people who paid a little, and you're going to send those, your flight is canceled, emails out to the people who paid a lot. It actually happens a lot, even on domestic flights. They will tell you if you paid a lesser
flights.
Yeah, so they're doing the same thing.
That with these international carriers, but do you think it's because people are using these third-party websites as well? Like, I don't book international on third-party sites. I recognize that people say, oh, I can get a cheap ticket here. I don't do that. I book directly on the airline sites. Could that possibly be it as well in terms of them looking at the cost of the seats, like what you're indicating?
Well, yeah, because if you book on the airline flight, you're going to pay more money. So they're going to kick the guy who booked his on Expedia.com. He paid probably a fraction of what you paid. So who you think they're going to kick? Eliza, who is paying the full price straight to the airline. They got no middleman. They taking all that money going straight to the bank. Or the guy who did like skipflag.com and paid, like me, I do skipflag. I pay $500 to fly to Africa. That's all I'm going to pay, right? They're going to kick me out before you because you're the loyal customer who went through the airline and paid more money. They're going to take care of you. That's the reality. So it's a perfectly logical explanation for it. I don't really think there's any type of like any type of malicious. Okay. No, I don't. Yeah, because when there is something malicious, I'm like, yo, this is straight up malicious. But when it's something like that, it's the way the airlines operate. Even I got kicked from a flight one time to DC because there was another person who paid more for the same seat. I mean, they didn't tell me that, but once they kicked me, I went and looked, and it shows you the price of seats, and the price has shot up, and then the seat was filled. So, you know, it's like
because
that's what they do.
With someone I knew too, Brandon, but they booked again. They booked on Cheapo Air. They were going to fly on Ethiopian Airways. The flight got canceled with Ethiopian Airways. Okay. They're having a tough time now trying to get a refund because Cheapo Air is saying you must get your refund from Ethiopia. Ethiopia's like, no, you booked your flight through them. They have to give you the refund.
And that's the game they play. We're not giving you a refund, even though your money is sitting in Ethiopia Air's bank account. But the thing is, one, tell them don't fly with Ethiopia Air. They crashed like 3 planes last year. So they crashed 3 planes, man, going into Africa too. So, you know, you're already on with that, but I love my people, and I'm telling you, I will never fly Ethiopian again. They crash airplanes.
I flew on them once. eons ago, Brandon.
They got the prettiest little flight attendants, I'll tell you that.
Yes, they
but
do.
they crash airplanes. I want to make it. I will pay the extra money to make it. Just get me there. But yeah, they're gonna get that back. But also, if so the flight was canceled, right? You said through
Yes.
cheap air, the flight was canceled. Exactly, and that is the risk you take when you pay those cheap prices through those third party websites. So it's a risk. There's risk involved when you're dealing with anybody. So they're gonna have to figure that out. But yeah, I would just tell that person, one, I wouldn't deal with Ethiopian Air. What I would do if I was that person, when you look on the site, you can see the different airlines that are offering these tickets, right? They show you. So it'll be cheapo air, but they'll say, oh, this flight is through this person or that person. I'm not picking no Qatar Airways, even though Qatar Airways is very nice.
Yes,
I'm not picking no Qatar, no Ethiopian, no Emirates, none of that. Go with the white man in that instance. American Airlines, stuff like that. Because a lot of times, look, I'm just telling you so you have a lot more likely to get your damn money back. Arabs are not honest like that. I'm just telling you. But the thing is, once they got your money, they don't care about customer service. They're like, damn, customer service. But the thing is, like the flight I had this time was booked through American Airlines. No, through United. So even though once I caught United out the country, United flew me into London, I was able to take British Airways into Nairobi. But the beautiful thing about United is they have a nice app. They track your flights very well. Your itinerary is nice and clear. If you have a problem, you can call and say, hey, I have a problem. There's a person there to answer the phone. On top of that, if you want to extend your flight, you can extend your flight with United, right? Like say you want to stay 2 more weeks. United has a set price to extend your ticket. And you can do it right on the app. You don't got to talk to nobody or nothing. And I've done that several times. Why wouldn't you go through them? You see what I'm saying? But I also was able to do that through a third-party app. So I did a third-party app, but I went with a third party that was offering the flight through United. And United, in agreement with another airline, handled the flight. But United, that is a trustworthy airline. And also, the terrorists, when they hijacked the planes, they took United planes. So ever since then, United has kind of been on the ball with the customer service and everything because they got a lot of knocks against them during that time. So they revamped their whole system. So you got to just be a little bit more cerebral when it comes to traveling and just know something about the world. When you first travel, just go with names that you are familiar with. It might be a little more expensive, but go with names you're familiar with. If you ain't been to Ethiopia, don't fly on Ethiopia Airways, okay? That's a little tidbit.
You know what's interesting to me is that you said you're talking about the Arab airlines. Now I'm in Dubai, okay? There's no way I'm going to go back to the Netherlands or back to Germany or back to the UK to fly all the way back down to go to Ghana in and out frequently.
Right.
That just makes no logical sense. So of course I'm flying Emirates.
Emirates is nice.
But here's what's interesting is that due to Nigeria recently banning all of these airlines, people who had been trying to get out on Emirates, it seems like they are moving into Ivory Coast. And I say that because of this. Emirates had never had a stop in Ghana. It always been nonstop. Now they're stopping in even I want to say Benin as well. So all of this is just interesting that you're saying this too. I'm really not sure what's going on, but Nigeria banned all these airlines. They cannot land because of how they were treating the Nigerians when this pandemic started.
Nigeria did the right thing.
They did. Hey, I'm fine with patriotism of my black folks. Hey.
I'm liking Nigeria more and more. At least they got some freaking backbone. Because Jesus, even the United States mistreated Nigerians too when it went down. Trump kicked them all out. Did them dirty.
Yes. So Emirates is one of those airlines, amongst others, because they were saying that they were mistreating the Nigerian. And I want to say another carrier from India. They were saying how they were treating the Nigerians and basically holding them captive. All of those Chinese airlines and stuff, they can't fly into Nigeria. I guess he's called the minister of aeronautical something, sent that letter out. They posted it here. It was on our call for work and stuff, and I saw that, and so that was really interesting. But Marie has a question for you. She says, did you have to pay extra to change your flight with United when you
yeah, with United, yes, they have a set price. If you want to extend a flight, you have to pay $300. And
okay.
you can extend even up to like 5 or 4 hours before the flight leaves. You could just say, hey, I need to stay a little longer, and you could extend it 2 weeks, 2 days, whatever. So I understand the cost because you're extending.
Okay, so now can you tell us this? You said that you use a third party carrier as well. What site is that?
That site is
to buy your flight.
It's Skiplag. So it's SKIPLAGGED.
Skiplag. Interesting. I'm not familiar with that.
They have an app. And the funny thing is, I go to Chicago every year. To visit my family. And United they're based in Chicago, I believe.
Correct.
United.
Correct.
So
Chicago and Houston.
So every time I fly there, I book it with Skiplag, and I take like me, my wife, my daughter for like cheap. I'm talking about we pay like $150 for all 3 of us round trip, something cheap like that. Yeah, through Skiplag too. And so I was actually able to get mileage through United doing that. And so that's why now when I book flights to Africa, I use United because I'm like, yo, they'll get you to Africa. They'll be responsible for you getting there and back. And, pretty good airline. But Skiplag, you can get cheap flights. Like you go to New York for like $75. It's very cheap.
How long have they been around? I've just never heard of them, Brandon.
They've been around for a while. They've been around for a little while. There used to be a place called Scott's Cheap Tickets or something.
Yes.
It's similar to that site. It's not the same person, but Skiplag. And a lot of these like Cheapo Air and all that, they what they'll do is so what this site does is it will find all of their lowest prices, and then it'll just compare them and put them in a bundle for you. So you'll go on the Skiplag site, but you'll really book the flight through like Expedia or Cheapo Air or whatever. But Skiplag actually does the work of finding those extremely cheap prices. And also, there's another feature on there where they'll find like an extremely cheap price from one airline, and then they'll tell you like, yo, just go to this terminal, and then you can catch this flight going to where you're going for even cheaper. They have little workarounds like that, but that's not you don't have to do any of that. Just go on, look, you'll find flights to Africa for like $600, $500. The time I went before this time, I went to Nairobi, round trip. I think I paid $515 round trip. That was after taxes.
Wow.
You just find good like deals on there, and you can insure your flights and all that too on there for cheap.
So a gentleman in the chat, he says that the Scott site still exists. I hadn't been on that, and you're right. I mean, that's an older one. I haven't been on that. Oh my goodness, in forever. But James,
Scott kind of makes you buy in now or something.
Oh,
I think he like makes you buy in, and I never liked Scott's Cheap Air either because they don't be offering flights to places you really want to go if you're Black. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you want to go to Honolulu or something like that. But this Skiplag is a good site, and yes. Never underestimate Google Flights because sometimes Google Flights be coming through.
Really?
Man, sometimes you play with those dates a little bit, you will find some, because I'll do something like I'll leave on a Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? I'll do a Wednesday and come back on a Wednesday. And it's just when you play with those dates, it gets cheaper and cheaper.
Well, that is true. If you don't leave on the weekend, Brandon, you'll get a better rate leaving, let's say on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When you start adding Thursday through Saturday on there, the price definitely will go up.
And that's the beauty about Skiplag. You enter your destination and your dates, and then they have like a little needle that you can slide back and forth, and it basically makes the price go lower or higher based on how you slide that needle. And so if you slide that needle to like, say you got a flight that says $800, you start sliding that needle, you'll see like $400 or $500. Like, wait a minute. And then when you see that, you look at the dates and you say, hey, I can do those dates
You
for
can do
this.
those as well.
Yeah,
So
you can. The more flexible you are, the better.
well, of course, definitely. So since you traveled with a small child, can you talk about your experience during this pandemic, how they went as well?
Oh, with the children, it's easy. They go through, they're not thinking that the kid is packing anything, so they're just like go through. As long as the parents are, straight, everything is good with the luggage, the kids just get to go right on in. You
So
don't have any
you
problem.
compare that to compare how you all traveled this time to the same as your previous times?
Yeah, to me, there was no difference once you got past the part where they asked for your corona, and then
Okay.
that little complication that I had, which was actually the fault of Kenya, their Ministry of Health, not the
Right.
fault of the airline. There was really no difference. And what you'll find is the airlines already know people are afraid to travel. They also know people hate traveling on planes. So they do their due diligence to make the process as smooth as possible. And if you do your part, it'll be fine. Don't pack a freaking gallon of lotion in your backpack. They won't have to pull you to the side and say, what is this? What is that? It's just common sense stuff. Wear sandals, not freaking knee-high boots that you got to unlace every time you go through the TSA terminal. It's just little things. So what I think, if nothing else, it has just put more pressure on the traveler to be more efficient themselves. The airlines are doing the same thing they've always done. They don't care if you got corona or not. They want to get that money. Everything is really up to you. You're going to determine your experience, and I'm a simple person. I don't be trying to take, like my mother-in-law, she lives in Egypt. She want to take 30 damn suitcases back to Egypt and stuff like that, and then wants to complain when they say there's a limit of 9 suitcases. Well, I'll pay for the rest. That's not the point. There's a limit of 9 suitcases. See, but that is our people. Our people love to make a situation when there isn't one. They love to do that. And I love Black people, but we do that. My mother-in-law is just a pure African American. She lives in Egypt because of where, my father-in-law, his job, right? But why are you taking 19 luggages back to Egypt? For one, we're in a time of economic uncertainty. I don't think you should be spending almost $9,000 just bringing luggage back. And 2, you don't need all that crap. And 3, we're in a crisis. Like, they don't want to deal with that. So you're gonna have a problem. So if you just keep it simple, there's an old saying in this one book: keep your eyes simple and your whole body will be bright. I always remember that. I keep everything simple, and if you keep it simple, everything will be smooth for you. But if you start trying to do too much, you're gonna have problems.
Then you're gonna have some problems. That's interesting, but that's a lot, Brenda. That's a lot of suitcases. That is a lot. It's almost like
She has a real problem.
Cargo.
Her mail comes to my house, and I tell you, every single day Amazon's dropping something off at my house. Every day. I'm like, you have she be on that retail therapy real hard. Maybe because she don't want to live in Egypt. But look, whatever. But just don't complain. Don't be calling me, can you believe that? Yeah, I can believe that. I'm surprised they kicked you out the damn airport with ridiculous stuff like that. Who carried all this damn luggage?
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And she's excessive like that. 19 luggages or something like that. It was ridiculous. But that's what she wants to do.
Wow.
That's rich folks for you. I'm not rich.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today to have this candid conversation about the passport situation that's happening stateside and with what's happening with you traveling from California to Kenya, which is interesting. I'll be traveling soon myself. I won't give my dates here, but those who know, they know when I'm coming. But definitely, thank you for joining us. And for those of you who do not know, Brandon is Pan Afrikanism Strikes. That is his channel. He is always on search for Yahuru's channel, dropping gems. I watch a lot. I don't comment a lot, but I watch you a lot. I've always been a fan. You speak a lot of hard truths that people cannot take. And I like
I'm always
that. I
on there
like that
making
because
people
I
mad.
am rogue myself. People cannot take truth. They can't. They want you to
Well,
continue to coddle
you're a
them
free
with
thinker.
falsities.
You're a free thinker.
Very much so. Very much so. Not with the status quo. Very much so. So I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. And hopefully I can have you on again. So enjoy your time in Nairobi. Wish your family well and everything. Lizzabitty. And thank you, Brandon. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. It's daytime over there.
It is. It is. It is actually 12:44 here.
Right. It's 11:44 here. So we're 1 hour different.
1 hour. 1 hour. And,
Mhm.
and you know what's strange is you're 1 hour, and Ghana for me it is 4 hours. How is you see?
Because it's on the other side of the equator.
I know, but you see how that works with the time zones and yeah.
Man, the white man invented time zones, so who knows?
Facts. All right, Lizzabitty out. I'm gonna go out with our outro. You have a good one. Be safe. Enjoy your family.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.